Hey, everybody, it's Alfred Jr. back with another edition of the Metropolitan Report. And before we get into today's Metropolitan Report, just want to remind everybody to continue to share this podcast. If you like what you hear, if you like what you see, if you're a Mets fan, if you're a baseball fan, if you're a sports talk radio fan, go ahead, share this podcast, send it to every Mets fan you know. Also, go down below, hit the subscribe button. That way, when a new video pops up on the channel, like a Metropolitan Report short, an actual episode of the Metropolitan Report, or a special presentation like David Wright's retirement ceremony, you'll be one of the first ones to know. So, again, go down below, hit subscribe, like, comment, sound off in the comments anything that you agree with, disagree with, or things that I may not bring up that you want to be spoken about on this podcast. Make your voices heard. So, all right, we're going to get right into it. Today on the Metropolitan Report, hosted by yours truly, Alfred Jr., it is Monday, July 28th. As we are recording, it is 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday, July 28th. And the New York Mets currently sitting in first place in the National League East. Mets on a 7-game winning streak. That lead could expand tonight. Currently, the Philadelphia Phillies, who trail by a game and a half, entering today in the NL East. The Phillies at 60-45, the Mets at 62-44. As of this moment that we are recording, the Phillies are down to the White Sox by a score of 4-2. So this lead could grow with a Mets win. The Mets are in San Diego. They are in the West Coast. They are scheduled to play the Padres in game one of a 3-game series in just about a half an hour. But we are going to have a loaded show here, lots to talk about. So let's get right into it. The past week now, where we last left you on the last Metropolitan Report, this Mets ball club had dropped 2 of 3 at home to the Cincinnati Reds. The most significant thing last weekend was the David Wright retirement ceremony. The ceremony in full is on this YouTube channel. You can go and watch it. I uploaded and recorded the whole thing for you guys. David Wright, deservedly so, got his number retired. We talked about that on the last episode. Furthermore, but the Mets, after losing 2 or 3 to the Reds, hosted the Angels at home at Citi Field in Queens. They swept the Angels 3 straight games, then proceeded to travel west to San Francisco and swept the Giants in a 3-game set. And now they play the Padres. So first things first, and I got to get this out of the way. Francisco Alvarez was recalled from AAA Syracuse last Monday. He came back up for game 1 of the Angels series last Monday, 1 week ago today. Hayden Senger was in turn sent back down to Syracuse. And I got to admit, because I was one of the people that was calling for Francisco Alvarez to get sent down. And what do you know? 2 days after I made that video, Alvarez went down to Syracuse. During his time in Syracuse, he mashed the ball really well to a 292 average, had 8 homers in his stint in Syracuse this season. And the Mets brought him back up. Alvarez was sent down on June 22nd. He was recalled on July 21st. Since he's been recalled, he's played in 5 games, 17 at-bats. In the 17 at-bats, he has 6 hits, 13 total bases, 2 doubles, a triple, a home run, 2 RBIs. He's walked 3 times, and he's batting .353 for the month of July. Now, again, July 21st to present, he's only played in 5 games, but in the 5 games, hitting .353, on-base percentage of .450, and slugging .765. Now, say what you want, and I know I was critical of Alvarez, and we know he's had the injuries last season. He had the thumb issue on the same hand this season. He had the broken wrist. So Francisco Alvarez has had his fair share of injuries, and that could have affected his swing. But he's really changed his swing, and I got to give credit to the guys down in Syracuse, that coaching staff, because, and there's no secret, a lot of people have had a little disdain for Eric Chavez, the Mets hitting coach. But Alvarez tweaked his swing in the minors, and he came back up, and he's been on fire. And we look at Alvarez, who his average in April was not. I mean, granted, he only played in 5 games in April. 5 games in April, he hit 190. He played most of May, hit 250, hit 238 in June when the Mets brass said they saw enough. And now he's come back up. He's hitting 353 since he's been back. And I'm never going to argue with results. I always say on this program, I demand results. And Alvarez, for what it's worth, has been bringing the results. Since he's been back, 17 at bats, 353 average, 450 on base. As of this recording, 765 slug. And who knows what he'll do in Petco Park tonight. Petco Park has been a park that has historically been good to the Mets. For those of you who need a reminder, that was the site of the Bartolo Colon home run. So I'm very confident that Francisco Alvarez will mash in Petco Park in this series. And, you know, Alvarez, for what it's worth, this kid was the number one prospect in all of baseball a couple of years ago. Alvarez was thought of as a guy who was going to be the next franchise catcher, which the Mets have not had since Mike Piazza left the club after 2005. So, again, Francisco Alvarez, good to see him back to form. It was only a couple of seasons ago, back in 2023, granted it was a lost season, but just 2 years ago, that Alvarez hit 25 home runs in a season. I don't think he'll get to 25 this season because we're already at the end of July. Friday is August 1st. I don't foresee him going on a tear of getting at least 16 home runs between now and the end of the season. You never know. But I think Alvarez back to form if he keeps swinging this way, because he has tweaked the swing. If he continues to swing like this, I absolutely have no doubt that we're going to see a guy with 20-plus home runs next season in the majors. Absolutely no doubt. I'm very confident in that. So, you know, for as much as I criticize on this program and on this YouTube channel, I also can say that, you know, maybe I'm wrong. And I'll have no problem admitting I'm wrong. And Francisco Alvarez has proven me wrong. He has shut me up, and I no longer have anything bad to say about Francisco Alvarez as of right now. So I tip my hat to Francisco Alvarez, and we'll see what he can do now that we're going down the stretch again. This Friday starts August, and it remains to be seen what Alvarez can do in the month of August. Now, also, while the Mets are on this 7-game win streak, they've won 2 series in a row, have not lost a game since last week, Saturday. The trade deadline is approaching, folks. The trade deadline is coming. The trade deadline is this Thursday, July 31st, and I would be remiss not to talk about what's going on. So far, the Mets have made one move approaching the trade deadline. They traded for reliever Gregory Soto. Now, if you don't know who Gregory Soto is, Gregory Soto is a reliever. He once was a closer, a veteran with great stuff. And Gregory Soto was acquired from the Baltimore Orioles. He was acquired for 2 prospects. Gregory Soto, now he did make his season debut for the Mets yesterday, but here is his numbers so far this season with Baltimore before he got to the Mets. So with Baltimore, he was 0-2 with a 3.96 ERA. He had 45 appearances, had 18 holds in the 45 appearances. He had one save, which ironically came the day before he was traded, as on the Mets acquired him last week Friday. On Thursday, due to Felix Bautista, the Orioles closer, going on the IL, he assumed the role of the closer, got the save in that game against the Guardians. And yeah, again, Gregory Soto 0-2, 3.96 ERA, 18 holds in 45 games. He's had two save opportunities. He converted one, he blew the other. He's pitched 36 and a thirds innings, and he's only given up 2 home runs all season. So his strikeout to walk ratio leaves a little bit to be desired. He struck out 44 batters compared to 18 walks. But again, he's playing in Baltimore. Baltimore is a last place team, and what more can I say when you're not being put in high? I mean, he only had two save opportunities. Granted, he's not the closer there, but Soto, and not Juan, because now we have more than one Soto on the team. But Gregory Soto has always been a guy who he's got great stuff. He's a left-hander, which the Mets, outside of Brooks Raley, really were searching for left-handed options all season long since A.J. Minter and Danny Young went down. Minter, of course, was the left-hander. Jose Castillo got designated for assignment earlier this season. He was a left-hander as well. So the Mets have cycled through left-handers this season. A lot of journeyman left-handers have come, but Gregory Soto, two-time All-Star, is Gregory Soto. Gregory Soto was an All-Stars member of the Tigers in 2021 and 2022. And Gregory Soto lifetime numbers, win-loss record a lot to be desired, 14-31. Career 4.23 ERA, 385 strikeouts, and 355 and a thirds innings. But Soto, again, good veteran presence. He's a guy, like I said, he's found success in the major leagues. He wouldn't be an all-star twice if he didn't have success. Of course, he made his major league debut with Detroit in 2019. He's also played for the Phillies. And of course, like I said prior, the Baltimore Orioles. So Gregory Soto, the latest Met. I like this move a lot. The Mets got him very, very cheap. So he was traded for two prospects who most baseball fans would not recognize if I told you the names. He was traded in exchange for right-handed pitcher Wellington Aracena and right-handed pitcher Cameron Foster, who were both in rookie ball. So not a loss for the Mets there. And again, when it comes to trading prospects, folks, are like boxes of chocolate. You never know what you're going to have until you open the box and see what's inside. With prospects, you never know if they're going to pan out or not. The Mets have traded prospects in trade deadline deals of the past. Sometimes the prospects have not panned out. Sometimes they have. A very rare occasion, Scott Kazmir traded to the Tampa Bay Rays back in the day. He came out to be a serviceable, decent pitcher. In more recent times, Pete Crow Armstrong, now on the Cubs, all-star this year, was traded for Javi Baez, also an all-star this year, back in 2021. But I do like the Soto move only because Brooks Raley has been good so far this season, but he's coming off the Tommy John. He's going to be on an innings count, a pitch count, if you will. So Soto is going to provide another arm that the Mets can rely on so that we don't push Brooks Raley too far coming back from the Tommy John. The Mets desperately needed a bullpen arm, especially with all the guys that they've lost in the bullpen this season. Like I said, the aforementioned Danny Young, A.J. Minter, Dead Neil Nunez, Max Kranick. So a good veteran and also a veteran who's had high leverage pitching experience, because again, he was a closer. He's used to being brought in with either a slim lead or no lead. to save games. So Gregory Soto, great addition there. But it's not going to stop there, folks, because who else can the Mets acquire? Uh, the Mets still need a bat. They still need a bat. Now, there are quite a few good players on bad teams who have offensive firepower here. Now, we've already seen some players that teams might want off the board. Ryan McMahon, the third baseman on the Rockies, went to the Yankees over the weekend. He would have been a focus to get, but he's gone. So again, there's quite a few notable bats out there. Danny Jansen went to the Brewers earlier today, the catcher from the Rays. So hitters are starting to move. Teams are starting to make deals to try to make runs to October. One rumor that's been going around all year, and I mentioned it earlier in the season. The video is still up on our YouTube page. The Mets have been linked to Luis Robert since May. Luis Robert, the White Sox, not former, current, as of right now. Luis Robert, current White Sox slugger. The White Sox going in the wrong direction. Luis Robert, a bit of a discontent, a malcontent there, if you will. The team, now he's arguably their best offensive player, and the team has not committed to playing him every day. He's been checked out, you can tell. Having a down year, I mean, he could benefit from a change of scenery. He's an option. He plays center field, which the Mets, they've been platooning as of late between Jeff McNeil and Tyrone Taylor. He could be a permanent option at center field, could be your everyday center fielder, and a fifth bat in the lineup behind the Nimos, Lindors, Alonsos, and Sotos. So Luis Robert is an option. That's a guy also, in addition to his ability to hit, especially when he's motivated, he can hit for power. He is also a stolen base threat. He was the league leader in stolen bases not that long ago. Luis Robert, also a very fast and very dangerous runner. Luis Robert, more than capable. Luis Robert, All-Star in 2023, won a Gold Glove in 2020, and was a Silver Slugger Award winner in 2023. So, Lubob, as he is called, dangerous player. Again, I think that a change of scenery would benefit him really, really well. Just 2 seasons ago, an average of 264, on base of 315, and an OPS of 542 in 145 games. He had 38 homers that year, 80 RBIs, and 20 stolen bases. Finished 12th in MVP voting in the AL. So, Luis Robert, I have no issue if the Mets want to go after him. Another bat. I doubt this is going to happen because the Mets already made a deal with Baltimore, but Ryan O'Hearn and Cedric Mullins also available. Now, O'Hearn, while a first baseman, you're thinking, well, he's not going to move Pete off first base, but Ryan O'Hearn could be the permanent designated hitter. That's always an option. Ryan O'Hearn having a really good offensive year so far for the Baltimore Orioles. Actually, breaking news, Ryan O'Hearn will not be an option for the Mets. He was just traded to the Seattle Mariners. So the Mariners trying to bolster up their chances at being a contender in the American League. Ryan O'Hearn has moved to the Seattle Mariners, but Cedric Mullins still available on the Baltimore Orioles. Cedric Mullins, if we go to the Google machine here, Cedric Mullins, now the offensive numbers may not be what you want them to be for a slugger. Batting .221, 15 homers, 47 RBIs, but he is a lifetime .249 hitter. 14 stolen bases also for Cedric Mullins this year. OPS 721. So Mullins is a threat here when he is on the base pads. He also has an on-base percentage of 301 this season. So Cedric Mullins is an option, a left-handed bat. Now, why I don't think Mullins will happen? Again, Mullins, left-hander. The Mets already have Soto and Nimmo in the lineup as lefties. How many lefties are you going to put in one lineup, especially if the opposing starting pitcher is a lefty? Then that would be a day to sit Mullins because you can't sit Nimmo and you definitely can't sit Juan Soto. Juan Soto's very good at hitting lefty pitching, but Mullins is an option. Another interesting option: O'Neal Cruz, Pittsburgh Pirates. O'Neal Cruz has been playing center field this season for the Pirates. He did come up by trade as a shortstop, but O'Neal Cruz here, if we pull up his numbers, he's averages down, batting 221, but 17 home runs, 44 RBIs, 34 stolen bases. The man was an all-star this season. I don't know how he's an all-star over Juan Soto, but we've spoken about that already. Actually, pardon my correction here. The man participated in the home run derby, was not an all-star this year, but did participate in the derby. Sorry, folks, it's been a long day for me. Forgive me. Home run derby participant this season was O'Neal Cruz, 221 average, 17 homers, 44 RBIs, 34 stolen bases, OPS of 750. He is a dangerous slugger, an on-base percentage of 322. O'Neal Cruz, the upside in getting him would be he's still young, 26 years of age. He's got a couple more years left on that contract. I believe he has 3 more years left on his current deal. So he would be in team control for a while, which is important when having a player. Unlike Luis Robert, O'Neal Cruz, and unlike Robert and Mullins, O'Neal Cruz would not be a rental player. He'd be here for a little while. So that's always an option. Another option, I don't see it happening, especially now because he exited the game after getting a hit by pitch earlier today on his hand. But Eugenio Suarez of the Diamondbacks, he's another option that the Mets could go after. The Mets are seeking third base help, not just in center field, because they've been underwhelmed at third base all year. But Eugenio Suarez, now he was an all-star this season. And Eugenio Suarez, power hitter, has always been a power hitter. Had that 4 home run game earlier this season. So far, he's batting 248 with 36 homers and 87 RBIs. If he were to come to the Mets, he has more RBIs than any Met on the roster this season. Pete Alonso, currently the Mets RBI leader, he has 81 coming into today. But Eugenio Suarez was an all-star this season, does play third base. He's got a 248 average, 36 homers, 87 RBI, 1 stolen base. I mean, he was never a fast guy. An 898 OPS, and his on-base percentage so far this season, 321. So Eugenio Suarez will be another piece that the Mets can go after. So I like Eugenio Suarez. I like Luis Robert, and I like O'Neal Cruz to be acquisitions to fill needs that the Mets have this season going down the stretch. You look at other teams around the league. Again, the Orioles, I mean, they're 11 games under 500. They could have a Cinderella run to a wild card spot, but I don't see it. The White Sox, I don't foresee them doing anything. I don't even think they have, outside of Robert, they don't even have many players that anybody would want. The Twins are pretty much done. They started selling off their team already. They sent Chris Paddock to a team in their division. They sent him to the first place Tigers. The Athletics. Now, the Athletics, nobody's going to target the Athletics because, as you can see, they're in a transition to go to Vegas. Um, they've signed Brent Rooker to a long-term deal. They gave Lawrence Butler a deal. They're not going to move Jacob Wilson. They're not going to move Mason Miller. They want to keep this young core together so that they're all together by the time they get to Vegas, which is would be about 4 years, really. So they didn't deal Mason Miller last season. They're not going to do it now. They didn't deal Brent Rooker last season. They're not going to do it now. The only player that's available from the Athletics is the highest paid guy on their roster, Luis Severino, who the Mets did not re-sign after last season. Severino has been very outspoken about how he feels about the Athletics organization. He does not want to be there. He is a malcontent, and he is not having a good season by any stretch. If the Mets do want to go after starting pitching, which I don't think they will, considering that the original rotation that they planned to have at the beginning of this season is now healthy with Senga and Peterson and Holmes and Manaya and Montas, I don't see them going to get starting pitching help. Currently, Severino, who had a career year last year, does not have good numbers this season. 4-11 with a 4.95 ERA, 125 in the third innings pitched with 92 strikeouts. Severino, not the Severino of last season. I'm glad he got the bag. Some people say if he come because he said it in the media, he wanted to come back to the Mets. If the Mets somehow make a move for Severino, I think we'll see the Severino of last season, but I think that is unlikely. The Mets were linked to Mitch Keller. I don't foresee that happening either because, again, the original rotation as planned is now healthy. And the Mets are in first, and they need more bullpen help and a bat more than they need a starting pitcher. That's just my opinion. But with all these names being tossed around as potential trade acquisitions, somebody's got to go. Now, who on the active roster has played their last game as a Met? Is it Mark Vientos? Is it Ronnie Mauricio? Is it Brett Baty? Is it Luis Angel Acuna? Let's take a look. Ronnie Mauricio signed as an international free agent by the Mets. He's homegrown. Brett Baty drafted by the Mets. He's homegrown. Vientos drafted by the Mets. He's homegrown. Luis Angel Acuna just 2 years ago was acquired in the trade deadline deal for Max Scherzer when Scherzer got traded to the Rangers back in 2023. But somebody in that young group has played their last game as a Met. Now, if I'm David Stearns and I'm analyzing this roster of who can go and who stays, it all depends on what you're giving up. Now, here's my thing. I want to keep Ronnie Mauricio only because Ronnie, switch hitter, defensively, he may be the second best in the group. I don't know if the ACL injury he had doesn't appear to have robbed him of any speed or explosiveness on the base paths. I mean, he started off this season on the wrong foot, struggling, but he started to pick it up. Luis Angel Acuna, contact hitter, does not have the power his brother Ronald has, but I like Acuna because he's shorthanded defensively. He's very fast. And unlike Ronnie, he's more prone to put a ball in play than strike out. Then it comes down to Brett Baty and Mark Vientos. And you know what? We look at the numbers between the two. Brett Baty was sent down once already this season, and then he was recalled. And, Brett Baty, for what it's worth, he's had a lot of moments where he's bailed the Mets out of some jams offensively. 11 home runs, 33 RBIs, and a 235 average, but most of those home runs he's hit have been very timely in situations where the Mets were down or the Mets were tied and needed to get over the hump in the game, and here came Brett Baty. Then you look at Swaggy V, Mark Vientos, and Vientos .226 average, 6 home runs, 27 RBIs. Brett Beatty, who has 251 at bats, and Vientos, who has 257 at bats. That's a difference of 6 at bats, and in 6 less at bats, Brett has been more productive than Vientos has. I I like Swaggy V a lot, and I'm sad to say it, but I think he won't be a Met past Thursday if he's not dealt before. You know, Vientos, young kid, 25 years of age, had an amazing second half last season, but baseball, unless you're Ichiro Suzuki, CC Sabathia, Billy Wagner, or Dave Parker this past weekend, rest in peace to the Cobra, he's not here anymore. But unless you're one of those guys this past weekend, it's not about what you did in the past, it's about what you're doing now. It's about what you're doing this season if you're an active player in the league. I'll always remember Mark Vientos' second half last season, but this season, he's not pulling his weight. Now, I can see Mark Vientos going to Chicago and joining a Miguel Vargas and a Chase Mydroth and them growing together and building to be a offense once a couple of years go by. They can grow into a team that can gel together and win games and get a playoff spot. But for a team that's contending and trying to win right now and compete with the likes of the Dodgers, I say, hey, Vientos has got to go. Vientos, as much as I like Vientos, I think he's on borrowed time. It's only a matter of time before we see Mark Vientos traded. I realistically believe, and you're hearing it here first, I think the Mets get Luis Robert and Mark Vientos will be involved in a deal. As far as the prospects, I don't expect any big name prospects to get moved. I think Jonah Tong is beyond safe. I think Carson Benj is beyond safe. Brandon Sproat is beyond safe. Jet Williams beyond safe. I don't foresee any of them getting moved. I think Vientos and probably some single A guys from St. Lucie or from Brooklyn will be moved in this deal. So that's my opinion. I think Mark Vientos is going to be the one to get moved. I don't foresee Vientos and Ronnie or Vientos and Brett or Vientos and Acuna getting moved. I think it's going to be Vientos and a couple of prospects, to tell you the truth. One last player that I want to see the Mets go after, because again, the Mets do need bullpen help. Ryan Helsley of the St. Louis Cardinals, ladies and gentlemen. I firmly believe that Ryan Helsley is going to end up getting traded somewhere. Helsley has made 36 appearances this season. He is the closer in St. Louis. He's 3-1 with an ERA of 3, struck out 41 in 36 innings. Ryan Helsley has proven in the past he is a shutdown, lockdown closer. Helsley, solid numbers. Of course, lifetime Ryan Helsley, 31-15 win-loss record, career ERA 2.67, a little under a third of an inning shy of 300 with 355 strikeouts. I have no issue with the Mets acquiring Ryan Helsley. Well, in other news, because again, trade deadline is dominating everything, but the Mets have also been fielding calls for Starling Marte. Starling Marte, who is batting much better than anybody could have hoped for. Starling Marte this season, now he's been a bench player, a platoon guy. He is physically on the decline. He's been more of a DH than anything. but he is batting 289 on the season, 4 home runs, 20 RBIs, 5 stolen bases, OPS of 788. And you know what? I can understand why teams are calling for Starling Marte because, again, the guy's batting 289. That's great. But here's my thing: Marte will probably get packaged with Vientos. If Vientos goes to the White Sox, Marte is going to be on the way out. That's just the reality of it. Marte is going to be the equivalent of Andrew McCutchen. Starling Marte is going to be a veteran presence who went to the All-Star game a couple of times in his career. And he's a guy who has tons of experience. Of course, Marte went to the All-Star game twice, once with the Pirates in 2016 and with his first season with the Mets in 2022. He's won 2 Gold Gloves. And Marte, again, serviceable veteran, lifetime Starling Marte, 286 lifetime career hitter, 653 RBIs, 158 homers, 359 stolen bases. So Starling Marte, serviceable veteran, and he'll probably be the right guy to go to a clubhouse full of young kids and be a leader, similar to Andrew McCutchen with the Pirates. On the older player who only has a couple good years, serviceable years left in his career, and he'll be a mentor to all the young major leaguers on that team. But it would not surprise me to see Starling Marte move. And the Mets in spring training, when camp broke, they did publicly acknowledge that they tried to shop Starling Marte around. Nobody bit on a trade offer in the offseason. But things are different now. Mets are trying to acquire something to give them a push during the dog days of summer as we approach the fall, as we get closer to October. And they're going to have to give up something. And Marte is hitting 289. That's attractive to a lot of teams. And again, older player. He's been around for a long time. He can be a mentor to younger players in the league, depending on what team he goes to. Whether he's traded to the Pirates, which that's the team he came up with. He'll be reunited with Andrew McCutchen, who was a longtime teammate of his. He can go to the White Sox and be a veteran there to mentor Vargas and Mydroff and Tim Elko and the rest of these young guys. So, and Colson Montgomery, who's their hot chip prospect. So I doubt it. I doubt if they acquire Eugenio Suarez, the Diamondbacks would want Marte in return, but you never know. I could see a third baseman swap between Gino and Swaggy happening, but again, Marte, he too, I do not foresee being a member of this Mets roster. Once the trade deadline dust has settled and cleared. So that's my opinion on that. But this Mets team getting healthy, winning games, but there is still an injury update that we do have for you. On the injury report, Paul Blackburn, expected return now early August. He pitched 87 pitches yesterday in his final minor league rehab start. As long as there's no setbacks, he should return to the pitching staff in the first week of August. I believe he'll be in the bullpen as the Mets are not going to tinker with their current starting rotation. Jesse Winker, who's been on the IL since July 11th, he went on the IL as soon as he got back from the IL. And Winker expected back in August. He received an epidural on July 18th to address continued back discomfort. He was scheduled to rest another 7 to 10 days, but he has yet to restart baseball activities as of yesterday. And then we have Jose Siri. He's been on the injured list since April 17th. He's on a 60-day IL. No timetable for his return, but they do expect him to return before the season is over. He was shut down in early June as imaging showed the bone in the fractured tibia hadn't healed as well as the Mets were hoping. He will not restart a running program before August, but team officials remain optimistic that he can return this year. And finally, Tylor Megill. He's been on the IL since June 17th. He'll be back in mid-August. He threw bullpen sessions on July 24th and yesterday in advance of an upcoming rehab assignment, but he cannot be reactivated until August 14th at the earliest. Also, oh no, we actually have more injury news here. Brandon Waddell, who personal favorite of mine, that kid can eat innings, has a right hip impingement. Been on the injured list since July 22nd. He's expected to return sometime next month. He was optioned to AAA Syracuse on July 19th, but the option was reversed and he was put on the IL. He's expected to be back next week, first week of August. And Max Kranick, as we said, he's out. He's going to have Tommy John surgery, like we spoke about in the last report. So now that injury news is out of the way, let's look at the Mets' current schedule. This Mets team getting set momentarily to open up a 3-game series against the Padres. We look at the starting lineups for tonight. Well, the pitching matchups. Dylan Cease, who's 3-10 with a 4.57 ERA. Man, is that guy a shell of himself. We'll go up against Frankie Montas, 3-1 with a 4.62 ERA. I know I've been critical of Montas early on, but he's getting wins. Tomorrow, Sean Manaea takes the hill against a to-be-determined starter for the Padres. And then on Wednesday, the series finale, there has not been an announced starter for the Padres either, but Clay Holmes, who's 9-5 with a 3.40 ERA, he too will take the mound on Wednesday. So this Mets team going to have an off day on Thursday before traveling back to Queens to play the San Francisco Giants on Friday. The Mets have announced David Peterson will get the start on Friday. He's 7-4 with a 2.83 ERA. The Giants have not announced a starter. Kodai Senga will go Saturday, August 2nd, 7-3 with an ERA of 2. Giants have no announced starter. And then in the series finale, Sunday, August 3rd, no announced starter for either team. And then the Mets will close out the homestand hosting the Cleveland Guardians. So this upcoming week of baseball for the Mets, I think that the Mets are going to take 2 out of 3 from the Padres. Now, don't get me wrong, the Padres are a dangerous team. They have Fernando Tatis Jr., who shouldn't have been an all-star over Juan Soto. Manny Machado, Jackson Merrill, Jake Cronenworth, Luis Arias, batting champion from a season ago. So that team is very formidable offense-wise, but I think they take tonight because I have no faith in Dylan Cease whatsoever. I think they take 2 out of 3, to be honest with you. I don't foresee this Mets team struggling with the Padres. I could be wrong, but again, I think Montas and Holmes gets the job done. Manaea, I'm not sure about. I think if the Mets do lose a game in this series, it's tomorrow's game with Manaea on the hill that they do lose. As far as coming back home, the Mets are playing the Giants again, who they just swept in San Francisco. I think the Mets could take possibly 2 out of 3. Peterson and Senga both pitching in that series. Not going to make any predictions on the Guardian series till after the weekend goes by, since we don't have any pitching matchups. But stay tuned, folks, because the trade deadline is Thursday. I'll be bringing you some special videos of breaking news. If anything major will happen between now and the deadline. But until then, Mets are about to play the Padres right now, and I've said everything there is to say, and the only thing left to say is let's go Mets.